Welcome to the fourth session of Why Strategies Fail. Session 4 is titled Culture That Updates the Map. I'm JP Van Steertegem. I'm a business and executive coach who works with the owners and CEOs of technology firms to help scale their business. And I'm joined today by my partner, John.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. John Carter. I'm founder of a company called CoreX. I'm a former nuclear submarine captain and now executive coach that works with clients to remove bottlenecks to accelerate their growth. So don't be a bottleneck. Back to you, JP.
Exactly. Right. So, welcome back, everyone. Today, we're tackling something uncomfortable. The biggest risk in leadership isn't being wrong. No, no, no. Leaders are wrong all the time. That's practically a management tradition. The real risk is building a culture where no one can tell you the map is wrong. Because once that happens, congratulations, you've achieved what every authoritarian regime dreams of. A perfectly aligned group of people marching confidently in the wrong direction. And most organizations don't realize they've created that culture until the mistake gets extremely expensive.
So then this isn't about strategy frameworks or dashboards.
No, this is deeper. This is about whether reality itself is allowed into the meeting. Because strategy doesn't fail first on paper. It fails when frontline reality tries to travel upward and gets stopped somewhere around middle management like it's an unapproved carry-on bag.
Yeah, I like that. So let's ground this in something real. The NASA Challenger disaster in 1986. I remember that day very clearly. Now, contrary to popular belief, this was not a failure of intelligence. NASA had brilliant people. It was not a failure of data. They had plenty of data. Trust me. It was a failure of something much more subtle, the organizational ability to hear bad news without treating it like a personal insult. Engineers had explicit concerns about O-ring performance in cold temperatures, real data, clear warnings. But what NASA also had was something very powerful: schedule pressure, political pressure, and reputational pressure. And when those three things combine, the human brain develops a fascinating new scientific principle. If we've flown before, it'll be fine.
John, walk us through what actually happened.
What happened was engineers raised concerns about the O-ring in cold temperatures. Serious concern, data-backed concern. They escalated them. Leadership was under enormous pressure to launch that. So the assumptions guiding the decision became, we've done this before. The risk is acceptable. Now, from a psychological standpoint, that's fascinating because apparently the logic was, if something hasn't failed yet, perhaps it never will, which is also the reasoning used by every person who has ever said, I don't need a backup. Um, The engineers challenged the assumption, but culturally, the assumption won.
So the data was there, it just didn't survive the culture.
Exactly. Engineers escalated concerns, middle management softened the message, senior leaders reframed risk as acceptable uncertainty, which is a very elegant phrase that roughly translates to, we hope this works. Deviation became normalized. Instead of asking, is the map wrong? The organization asked, how do we keep going? The launch proceeded, the disaster followed. Here's the chilling part: Challenger didn't fail because the engineers were wrong. It failed because the culture made it unsafe to insist they were right.
Well, most businesses don't explode like a shuttle. So how does this show up in organizations?
Now, great question. Most organizations don't explode. They drift, right? We've all seen this drift, which from a leadership standpoint is actually worse because explosions get attention. Drift gets
Mm.
quarterly reporting, but the mechanism is the same. People stop saying what they see. Bad news gets softened, signals get filtered, assumptions go unchallenged, and slowly reality separates from leadership, which creates a fascinating phenomenon. An organization that believes something is fine right up until very much it isn't.
So this isn't just a communication breakdown.
No, not at all. Let's rename it. It's not poor communication, it's failure to question the map. And that's a leadership pattern.
Many cultures reward sticking to the plan, not updating it. If someone raises risk, they're labeled negative. If someone questions assumptions, they're seen as resistant. If someone flags execution friction, they're not aligned, which is fascinating logic. Because apparently the fastest way to stay aligned is to ignore reality. So what happens? Alignment gets rewarded over truth.
Yeah. And apparently silence becomes compliant.
Exactly. Silence is often compliance under pressure. And leadership signals matter more than stated values. You can say we value candor, but if the first person who challenges you gets dismissed or quietly sidelined, the culture updates instantly because employees are excellent scientists. They observe the experimenter or the experiment once and immediately update their behavior.
Indeed. So let's make this more practical. What does this sound like in real life?
Well, okay, here are two scenarios. First one, bad culture response. The leader says, we already decided, just push harder, which tells the room something very clear. The map is perfect, reality must be defect. Second one is healthy culture response. The leader says, what does this tell us about our assumptions? Which signals something revolutionary. Maybe the map isn't sacred.
So the difference is whether friction is treated as resistance or data.
Exactly. Healthy leadership treats warnings as assets. Unhealthy leadership treats warnings as obstacles, which is a bit like disabling your smoke detector because you find the noise annoying. Technically quieter, strategically risky.
Here's the leadership lens. Strategy must be understood at the edge of the organization. Frontline reality is where strategy meets. If it also filters that truth before it reaches you, you're not leading reality. You're leading a story. And stories are wonderful. I love stories. They are not, historically speaking, great navigation systems. Buy-in is not agreement. Buy-in is shared understanding. People can disagree and still be aligned if the culture allows the map to be updated.
So, what should leaders actually do?
Well, actually, it's quite simple, but it's not easy. You identify one behavior you will change to make assumption testing safe. Maybe it's something like this: asking, what might we be missing? Publicly rewarding someone for raising risk, delaying a decision when new data surface, inviting dissent before finalizing direction. Because culture decides whether reality reaches the decision maker. And most strategy failures don't begin with bad intent, they begin with filtered truth.
That's the takeaway. Not have better strategy, but build a culture that updates the map.
Exactly. Because if your organization can't challenge the map, it will eventually collide with reality. And history suggests reality wins that argument every time. We all know this. So let's make sure that doesn't happen on your watch. Again, thank you for watching the last in our series of Why Strategies Fail. This part 4 series is entitled Culture That Updates the Map. Again, I'm Dr. John Carter, founder of CoreX, former nuclear submarine captain, and now executive coach that works with clients to remove bottlenecks to accelerate growth. So don't be a bottleneck. And my partner, JP.
And I'm JP Vasteri. I'm business and executive coach who works with the owners and CEOs of technology firms and helps scale their business. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.